Hi everybody, Matt here. So I just wanted to do a video on meal prep using pocket knives or fixed blades. I've had several viewers ask me to do some meal prep with pocket knives, that sort of thing, which I really haven't done too much of. So I wanted to get out a few and just do some basic prep. I'm going to cut up some potatoes. I'm going to roast these later, but just wanted to get them prepped. They're starting to get a little bit older, so figure cut them up, get them in the colander to wash, and then I'll cut up some onions just so that we have them in the fridge so that we can use them. So let's get started. Now, some of these I think will definitely do better than others. For meal prep, like the thinner blades will probably do better, like the SE5. As you know, is a big old honkin' beast, so I don't know how well it'll do, but we will find out. So let's scoot all these over to the side, and let's say we move up from the smallest to the biggest. Why don't we do that? Easiest way. So we'll break out a couple potatoes here. Now this is the Leatherman Free T4. I'm just gonna cut off some of these eyes with it as well, so I can get a little bit of a eye for how well they work. Get that? So this one cuts precision really well. It's able to cut the bad eyes out easily, cuts smooth. Let's do another one here. It's very sharp. I've sharpened it a couple times. Takes an edge really easily. The thing that doesn't work so well about it is it has a really short blade. So that makes it kind of difficult, especially if it was bigger potatoes. These are small ones, the bite-sized potatoes, which isn't as big of a deal, but it would be if they were larger. All right, so let's wipe this blade off and we'll move on to the next one. Next one is the Benchmade 940 with the green scales. I think this one will do really well, and it does. Not only is it sharp, but it has a long blade, decently thin blade. I mean, it's not crazy thin. It's not like a Victorinox thin blade, but it just glides through it like butter. I've used this one quite a few times actually for meal prep because I keep it in my pocket a lot. It's one of my most carried knives, other than the Free P4. So that one did really well, as I thought it would. Let's wipe that one off and we'll go on to the next. Next one, Free P4, which is these two are basically what I carry, one or the other for the most part. Let's do another one with the P4. So the P4 has a super sharp blade, takes an edge really easily. I sharpen it fairly often with just a ceramic rod. Has a decently long blade, so it's easy to actually cut potatoes with. It'd be okay for bigger potatoes too, but not huge ones. So this one works really well. I'll wipe that one off. We'll move to the next. And the next one is the Benchmade Griptilian. This one is super sharp, keep an edge on it. It's a little bit thick, but doesn't hinder it at all. And it still cuts like butter. So, I don't know, we'll see what my view is on by the end of this, which one I would choose for meal prep. I think I have my winner in mind already, but we'll see. We'll see if that changes. All right, wipe that off. We'll move on to the next one. Let's do the Essie Azula. This one is a small fixed blade, small but mighty. I use this one a lot of times outside. I'll cut bags of mulch open with it, you know, anything. I use it kind of like a beater knife. You know, if I don't want to damage the blade or resharpen one of my nicer knives, I'll just do this one. It's easy to sharpen and it's not a big deal if it gets beat up. Hence the name beater knife. But it's really tough and durable, so it takes it. But it cuts really easy. It doesn't glide through it as easy as the others. They have a thinner blade, slightly, and a little bit longer blade, except for the T4. They're kind of comparable. So anyway, that one does okay. Let's do SE4HM, which is more of a bushcrafty knife. I think it'll do pretty good, other than it has kind of a thick blade, but it has a good contour to it. So I think it'll do well, which it is so far. So far, so good, and I'm actually really impressed with this one. It's working good on this bigger potato. It's able to stretch along, you know, the width of it without a problem. Let's see if we have another big one. Yeah, kinda. So we're able to cut the eyes off it still without problem or issue. It's plenty sharp. It's not smushing the potatoes, which is always a good thing. I'll wipe this off, and let's move on to our last one here, which is the SE5, the Beast. And I am actually pleasantly surprised. It cut the eyes off the potatoes pretty easily, and it's not completely it's not completely smushing the potatoes like I thought it would. You can see kind of when you push down, because it's a wedge, it kind of pushes the edges of the potato out a little bit, but it's not smushing them. So it's actually doing a lot better than I thought it would. I don't know that I've ever done any food prep with this one. Probably because of that reason. I thought it would just mangle the food, but it's actually not. It's doing surprisingly really well. So I'm just gonna keep cutting a few more with this because I'm pleasantly surprised. Huh. So there you have it. As far as the SE5, it actually does pretty darn well for food prep. A lot better than I thought it would. All right, so let's wipe that off, and let me get these potato peelings out of the way. We'll finish doing the rest of these potatoes real quick. I'm gonna use the 940 for this. Not that you can't tell which one's my favorite, can you? So I'm just gonna chop these up here real quick. So it's kind of funny, everybody always, you know, Googles and YouTubes, you know, what's the best knife for this? What's the best knife for that? You know, it has it depends on a lot of things. You know, personal preference, what you're doing, what you're cutting, you know, how sharp your knife is, how firm the food is. If it's super soft, you don't want to use a big knife because it'll really, you know, kind of squish it. If you're doing more delicate work, you want to use a smaller blade usually. Like I said though, the SE5 did really well on it. Cutting potatoes, I was pleasantly surprised. So, but if you would, just leave in the comments which one is your favorite, if you have these for food prep. You know, is your choice the same as my top choice out of these? Would you pick one that's different? And if you would, why would you? Also, if you have a different knife that you mainly use for food prep, let me know in the comments. Let me know which knife that is. And we're getting close to being done with the potatoes. Then we'll move on to the onion, see how that does. I'm always surprised at how well this 940 cuts. You know, it has a thin, long blade, so it slices really well. It's able to reach across. You know, if you have a decent sized potato, cuts across it. It's a sleek bevel, so it slices really well, in addition to being thin. Stays razor sharp for a long time, and just that free movement of the blade. You know, it's easy to open, easy to close. All right, we're almost done. All right, guys. So let me wipe this off. We'll get rid of our potato peelings, or potato pieces, should I call them. We'll bring out our onion here, and let's see how it does. I'm gonna do the same order. I'm gonna move from smallest to biggest, I believe, if I remember the right order that I had them in to begin with. Just opening them all up here. All right. So let's do the onion with the free T4. Let's see how this goes. I have a feeling it'll do okay slicing, but it's just not really long enough to get across the top of that onion. So let's move on from that one. It sliced okay, but just not thrilled with how short the blade is. It doesn't allow it to cut across very well. 940 reaches across it pretty easily, slices pretty well as also. I'm going to use the P4 to cut onion in half. Has a decent reach with the blade, you gotta turn it around, but otherwise it's a good cut with it. And I may switch back and forth here as we do this, just to see different cutting potential uses with it. All right, let's do some slices this way. All right, the Griptilian is doing awesome with this as well, just like the 940. I'm gonna switch back to the 940. Just cuts through it like butter. Do the P4, cuts through it like butter as well. T4, cuts through it like butter, but just not quite long enough to reach through there. Let's do the Asiazula. So the T4, in my opinion, for food prep, is really out. You know, it doesn't have a long enough blade. It's plenty sharp enough, but the blade is really blade length is a limitation. The Asiazula doesn't have that restriction, you know, because of the handle here. So it's still, you're still able to reach pretty far with the Azula, even though it does have that shorter blade. So, you know, that one still does pretty well, I think. Get this onion pieces out of the way here. And let's peel this one and we'll move on down the line. And let's switch over to the SE4HM. Do some long way slicing. Kind of pulls off to the side because it's so thick. Let's do the SE5 for the same long type of slicing just to see how it does. And it squishes the heck out of it. So it just peels it apart more than slicing it. So let's do another slice this way, which this one does slightly too, but not nearly as bad. Let's do some slices, making it diced with them. It's not the best, it just kind of smushes them out of the way a little bit. Let's try the SE5. It does okay. The outer layer and the inner layer, or whatever, the one outside and inside, it tends to kind of smush out rather than slice, and it's hair popping and sharp. I sharpened this just the other day. It's just it's built like a wedge, so smushes it instead of cutting it largely, but it does good for chopping. So, all right, so that does it for cutting. Let's pack this up and talk about it just a hair. So as far as meal prep, like I said, let me know what your guys' favorite is if you use one of these. If you don't use one of these, let me know which one your favorite is and why. But as for my favorite, 940. It's super light, has a long blade. It's medium thickness. It's not super thin, it's not super thick. Has a good contour to it, so it slices easily, stays super sharp, and like I said, that blade length allows you to cut really through it well. So that's definitely my choice for everyday carry or pocket knife food prep. As always, if you have any comments, definitely let me know. Otherwise, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.